transported to a strange planet by a force from beyond the universe. The mightiest superheroes and supervillains of all have been gathered to fight the ultimate war. After fighting many epic battles, the heroes were drawn into an all-out, desperate struggle with the mighty Galactus, devourer of worlds. Now, though they have successfully driven Galactus away, they find that their seeming victory has only sealed their fate. Stan Lee presents Marvel Superhero Secret Wars. Death to the Beyonder. We're dead men. Those were the words of Reed Richards, also known as Mr. Fantastic, when moments ago, Galactus escaped this mountaintop battle site. Galactus fled to his home world, a construct so huge that it fills the sky though it orbits many millions of miles distant. Now Captain America and his heroic comrades can only watch helplessly as the home world of Galactus dissolves into pure, brilliant energy, signaling the beginning of the end of their lives. The Thing says, "Let me get this straight, Reed. Since we prevented him from eating this godforsaken mud ball we're standing on, he's eaten his own home world." Mr. Fantastic says, "Right, Ben. And once he's recharged with energy, you can bet he'll be back to have us for dessert." The home world of Galactus burns brighter than the sun. Mr. Fantastic stretches over some of the heroes to shield them from the blinding light. Mr. Fantastic says, "Cover your eyes. Look away or you'll be blinded." Iron Man says, "Big deal. We're going to die in seconds. Anyway, who wants to see it coming?" High above, the last remains of the enormous world ship are transformed, swelling the nimbus of raw energy which billows in the void, and in the center of the seething energy cloud, Galactus prepares to drink deep of the awesome power around him. But suddenly, the energy is ripped away from him. Below, Spider-Man says, "What's going on?" Mr. Fantastic says, I'm not sure." Captain America says, "The energy, it's moving. That way." Storm says, "Toward Doom Base." Human Torch says, "This can't be Dr. Doom's doing. We left him in prison along with the other bad guys." Rogue says, "Who else then, Torch?" Captain America says, "We'll soon see." Captain Marvel, "Go reconnoiter. Fast." Captain Marvel says, "On my way at the speed of light, Cap." Transforming her body to pure electromagnetic radiation, Captain Marvel knifes toward Doom Base, and split seconds later, Captain Marvel found Doom in the lab of Doom Base lying on a table, absorbing all the energy. Captain Marvel thought, "Incredible. Somehow Doom escaped the cell we locked him in and constructed that fantastic machine, and it looks like he's using it to draw all that energy into himself. I'd better get back and tell Captain America and Mr. Fantastic. They'll know what to make of this." Professor X telepathically speaks to Captain Marvel. Professor X says, "Captain Marvel, stand fast. This is Professor X. I am telepathically linking your mind to Reed Richards's, allowing him to see through your eyes. He is best qualified to interpret for us the meaning and significance of the events you are witnessing." Inside the Doom Base, the energy surge has stopped. Dr. Doom says, "It is finished. The power is mine." What is happening? By the dark gods. My least whim alters the world around me. Such is a power coursing within me that stone and steel are wisps of nothing which bend and transform in slavish obedience to my merest stray thought. I must control this, separate the gossamer material world from my all-powerful thoughts, before reality and my imagination become as one, hopelessly intermingled. Now what? My senses have expanded. Of course, omniscience is a necessity, a corollary of omnipotence, a side effect. I feel every cell, every atom, their textures, their quivering movements. The dance of infinity, more. No physical barrier can restrain my senses. I see. No, it is far beyond seeing. I encompass all that exists around me. I possess more senses than before. And empathy, those imprisoned in the dungeons. I know their every thought, every secret, every smoldering, gnawing desire, how they seethe with hungers and wants. Each of their desires is more tangible to me than mortar and stone. Victor Von Doom, to whom the minds and hearts of lesser men were ever open books, now plumbs the black depths of men's souls with a glance. For now, I am aware of all things, including a spy. Captain Marvel thought, oh. At that moment, at the battle site, the telepathic link between Professor X and Captain Marvel has been cut off. Professor X says, something's wrong. The mind link has been cut off. Mr. Fantastic says, that's not good. Captain Marvel's in trouble. Captain America says, quick, to the X-Men ship. But the ship has been trapped under the giant boulders that have been dropped on it during the battle with Galactus. Hulk says, that thing isn't flying anywhere. Those boulders must have been thrown onto it during the battle with Galactus. Spider-Man says, and our ship was wrecked, too. What's plan B? Captain America says, those of you who can travel fast, head for Doom Base and aid Captain Marvel. Take whatever action against Doom you deem necessary. Thor will be in command. Magneto says, no, wait, it is not necessary to divide our forces. Everyone into the ship. Professor X says, I see what Magneto is thinking. Please do as he says. Soon inside the ship, Cyclops says, this thing's really dead. Even the lights are out. Every power cell was smashed. Magneto says, no matter, I am the power. Magneto lifts up the entire ship with his magnetic powers. Nightcrawler says, it's moving. We're airborne. Colossus says, unbelievable. Storm says, after all we've seen lately, are you kidding? Nightcrawler says, wow, this crate never flew this fast under its own power. Right, Psych? Cyclops says, hard to tell, Nightcrawler. Captain America says, amazing. Looks like you managed to line up to your own hype. Magneto. Magneto says, I gather, Captain America, that you would prefer that I fail. Or was that remark perhaps intended to be a well done, for which I shall humbly thank you? Captain America says, at ease, mister. Magneto says, allies should be at ease with one another. What troubles you? Is it my awesome power? Are you jealous? Afraid? Or is it merely because I am a mutant that you are not at ease? Captain America says, now that you mention it, the fact that you tried to kill all of us here several times as part of various evil schemes for world conquest is pretty hard to forget entirely. But Professor Xavier vouched for you, so I'm allowing you to be among us. I have no qualms about him or the rest of the mutants. The X-Men. Wolverine says, maybe you ought to, bub. Magneto says, stay out of this, Wolverine. Wolverine says, not a chance. What you don't understand, Captain, is that we mutants are at war. Always have been, always will be. You, with your high-valued ideals, you're the champion of the American dream, fighting for liberty and justice. But only for your own kind. For humans, for regular Americans. But you just stand by while mutants are being persecuted, don't you? When have you ever fought for our rights? Some of the God-fearing Americans you protect hate mutants. And when they come after us, it's a lot like how the Nazis went after the Jews. Xavier wants us to hide, try to help humanity, earn acceptance, fit in, but when they're threatening you and yours, it's easy to play like Magneto did. Fight back, take defensive, drive into the sea if you have to. Now, though Professor X has convinced Maggie to lay off, stop taking the expedient route, stop using noble ends to justify violent means, and still you won't lay off, sort of makes me wonder if Magneto was right. Captain America says, nothing justifies terrorism or murder. Wolverine tries to attack Captain America, but Cyclops and Colossus hold Wolverine, stopping him from attacking. Wolverine says, terrorists. That's what the big army calls a little army. I used to have some respect for you. Meanwhile, in the Doom base, Dr. Doom says, so the Beyonders portal remains open, the better to view this planet. Clearly, he realizes that these are critical moments. Just how critical is for Doom to decide. When the Beyonder brought us all here, he told us, slay your enemies, and all you desire shall be yours. Now I have the power to slay every being on this planet with but a wave of my hand. All the heroic minions of Captain America are like dust to me. Should I slay them, and then demand some prize from the Beyonder? What would I ask for? What could the Beyonder give me that is not already within my power? Are those dust mote heroes truly my enemies? Or is there now but one foe in all existence worthy of doom? The Beyonder himself. Claw's head was lying on the ground on the table nearby. Claw says, Beyonder, order, order, order. The Beyonder is mighty. The Beyonder is tough. Beating him will be pretty rough. Dr. Doom says, should I settle, then, for being second Claw? No, I am Doom. As long as I knew there was one greater, I could never rest. Claw says, but you don't have a chance. That would discourage some. Dr. Doom says, true, he is Goliath, and I am David. David had a sling, and knew a weakness of his foes which he might exploit. I know something of the Beyonder. For when first he spirited us to this world, I attempted to invade his portal and was brutally repelled, but not before my armor's computers analyzed his energies. Dr. Doom, with his newly found powers, repaired his armor. Dr. Doom says, a few simple adjustments, based upon that data, and borrowing some technology from the device Galactus meant to use to absorb the energy of this planet, and I have my sling concealed in the breastplate of my armor. I must get very close, indeed, to the Beyonder if I hope to use it. However, within an arm's length. But then, David had to brave the giant spears to draw within range. And now, Claw, I go to walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Farewell. At that moment, all the heroes break into the Doom base. Professor X says, he's gone. Doom is no longer within this structure. Captain America says, check on the other prisoners. Quick. Moments later, in the dungeon, many levels below, Human Torch says, everybody's still bottled up, except Doom, of course, but I don't see Claw anywhere. Spider-Man says, you're right, Torch. We better start searching. This is a big fort. Nightcrawler says, Spider-Man, I think Professor X might be able to trace him telepathically. Spider-Man says, if that's possible, Nightcrawler, let's head back upstairs. And in the lab, Spider-Woman found Captain Marvel, but she was frozen in her light form. Spider-Woman says, while what on? Oh, Mr. Fantastic says, what is it, Spider-Woman? Spider-Woman says, Captain Marvel. There's something wrong. Mr. Fantastic says, Doom must have forcibly changed her to her light form and frozen her that way. She's become a living hologram. Claw's head was lying there on the table. Claw says, you're right about the Lady of Light. Light. Ite. No wonder they call you Mr. Fantastic. Captain America says, it's Claw. Or a piece of him, anyway. Mr. Fantastic says, I would guess that Doom sliced away most of your body and used it to make the energy lenses for his power-absorbing device. Correct. Claw says, it didn't hurt at all, because I made a solid sound. Sound. Own. 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 Captain America says, where is Doom? What is he up to? The whole Doom base shakes unimaginably loud. The Thing says, Holy Mother O-Pearl. Claw says, Doom? Oh, he'll be right back. He's off using some gadget in his chest plate to steal all the Beyonder's power and conquer him. Captain America says, the Beyonder? He must be insane. Claw says, maybe that's why we get along. At that moment, somewhere past the portal of the Beyonder says, stop, you cannot approach me. Dr. Doom says, then approach me, coward. On your knees, if you have knees. Come, cringe before your master. Grovel before Doom. At the Doom base, the heroes were trying to hold the ground as it was shaking and breaking and falling apart. Hulk says, whatever's going on out there, it's shaking this place to pieces. And this fort could withstand a direct hit from an H-bomb. Captain America says, Spider-Man, Thing, get down to the sick bay and bring She-Hulk up here. I've got a feeling we're going to need every single hand soon, wounded or not. Mr. Fantastic says, this monitor's still working. There's a Beyonder's portal. Definitely the source of the disturbance. Shock waves emanating from there are causing upheavals in the very fabric of the time-space continuum for 100 cubic parsecs. Only violent movement of energy on an unimaginably gargantuan scale could cause this. They're firing force bolts at each other. Perhaps, if only this equipment were powerful enough to see inside the portal. Iron Man says, "Can't you soup it up, Reed? Like you did my armor?" Mr. Fantastic says, "There's no time, no matter, though it's powerful enough to locate Galactus, so I can bring him back here, help him, revitalize him." Iron Man says, "What? Ain't we got enough trouble? What if he tries to kill us again?" Mr. Fantastic says, "He may, but if Doom should give up his attack on the Beyonder and turn his attention to us again, the only way we'd stand a chance is with the power of Galactus on our side. There he is. Now if we can just lock a tractor beam on those coordinates." Meanwhile, in the infirmary, the Thing and Spider-Man are bringing She-Hulk. But another shockwave came, and the Thing stumbles and She-Hulk slips from his hand. The Thing says, "Yow!" Another shockwave. Spider-Man says, "Careful, Thing." Spider-Man catches her before she could hit the ground. Spider-Man says, "Good thing I'm fast." The last thing She-Hulk needs is being dropped on her head right now. The Thing says, "Ah, I knew you was going to catch her. Hey, Reed, holy." The whole room has been wrecked, and Mr. Fantastic was stuck under a large piece of debris that fell on top of him. The Thing says, "Hang on, stretcho. I'm coming." "Reed? Reed. Come on, big brain. Say something complicated so's I know you're okay." Mr. Fantastic says, Can't catch my breath." Human Torch says, "Easy, Reed. Don't try to move, man." Spider-Man says, "She-Hulk's still weak, but okay, I think. She'll be on her feet again after she rests a while more." "So, what's on television, Hulk?" Hulk says, "Worldwide destruction, I'm afraid. She-Hulk's condition, and ours, too, may soon be academic." Colossus says, "Hulk, please, can you focus on the village we once occupied?" Hulk says, "Certainly. There. Looks like they've fared no better than the rest of the world." Colossus thought, "That's Zaji the healer. She's hurt." Zaji, "If only I were there to be with you now. But it is not as she would want. It is the Human Torch she loves. I must tell him." Colossus says, "Johnny Storm, I have bad news. Zaji has been injured." Human Torch says, "Huh? I've got no time for a chippa now. Reed's hurt. I'll send her a card later." Colossus says, "Chippa? Chippa?" Another shock wave hit the base. Captain America says, "Another shock." The worst yet. Stay alert for falling debris. Colossus, Iron Man, Thor, stand by to brace walls and shield the more vulnerable. Shrieking winds protest the agony of a planet battered and distorted by forces beyond comprehension, while the sun at orbit seems on the verge of being blown out like a candle. And in the realm of the Beyonder, Dr. Doom says, "Is there no end to his strength?" He doubles and redoubles his onslaught with each passing second. I must draw nearer, still, and yet all my power is not enough. My thrust has been blunted, my energy ebbs, my defenses crumble. It is hopeless. I cannot reach him, any more than the anvil can rise to strike the hammer. Away. There must be... Arg. Dr. Doom's leg had been cut off from his body, and he falls. Dr. Doom says, "Thus? Thus falls Doom? No, no. What is pain to one such as I? I will shut it out." Other men fall prey to the very specter of death. When her cold embrace seems imminent, they simply swoon into her arms. But I am Doom. I deny you death. Victor Von Doom must not die. Suddenly, a stillness sweeps to the fabric of reality, a trough between waves of chaos. On the battle world, the remains of Doom Base shiver and settle. In the lab, Professor X says, "Everyone beware." I sense someone or something approaching. Something awesome. Spider-Man says, "I know what you mean, Professor X." My spider sense is going bazonkers. Whoever's coming is dangerous to beat the band. Oh. Dr. Doom projected himself in the middle of all the heroes. Dr. Doom says, "Greetings. I am Dr. Doom, though I am far more than the being you once knew. Indeed, I have transcended mortality, and yet I am your champion, fighting for your sakes. I am about to crush the Beyonder. The Beyonder, in his cosmic arrogance, abducted us all and brought us here to do battle for his amusement. Slay your enemies, he said, but in truth, he is the real enemy. While he can reach us, our universe is not safe from his manipulations. He must be utterly defeated and sealed away beyond the portal forever, or destroyed. In the name of all who exist in our universe, I, Doom, have dared to attack the Beyonder. The battle has gone well. Even now, the Beyonder cringes in terror, marshaling his failing strength against my final assault. Hence, this lull in the strife, which has allowed me to appear to you and offer you the chance to share my glorious conquest. Lend me your power. Hasten his certain defeat. Come, who will join me against our common foe? You have but to touch my hand. Who shall be first? To him, after our victory, I shall grant power beyond measure, with which to further his noble purposes, of course. You know I speak the truth. You feel it, do you not? Come. Magneto steps forward, reaching for Doom's hands. Magneto says, "Yes, yes." Time seems to tread water as Magneto lunges forward. The others stand transfixed. He reaches out to grasp Doom's spectral hand, but then he hesitates. His eyes find Xavier's, and for an endless split second he trembles on the brink. Then abruptly, Wasp, Iron Man, and Hawkeye attack Magneto, tackling him on the ground. Wasp says, "Stop him." Hawkeye says, "Hold him, Iron Man." Iron Man says, "No sweat, Hawkeye. He ain't gonna reach out and touch nobody unless he can find a payphone." Dr. Doom says, cannot maintain." Dr. Doom's spectral projection vanishes. Magneto says, "Human scum. You dare." Iron Man says, "Flattery won't get you nowhere. Turkey. No way we're letting you help Doom." Hawkeye says, "Yeah, I don't buy that bull about him fighting for our sakes. No matter how sincere he says it, he isn't the type to change his spots. And from the looks of it, neither are you." Magneto, with his magnetic wave, threw away Wasp, Hawkeye, and Iron Man and frees himself. Magneto says, "Unhand me." Hawkeye says, "Hey, X-Men, did you see your buddy here? Try to throw in with Dr. Doom?" The same Dr. Doom who only a few minutes ago iced Captain Marvel. Does this rat have to murder somebody right in front of you? Or what? What's it take to convince you he's pond slime and we should lock him up? And if you can't see that, maybe we ought to start wondering about you. Captain America stands between X-Men and the other heroes. Captain America says, "That's enough, Hawkeye." We were all tempted. I suspect that Doom was exerting some sort of mental control, and maybe Magneto got the biggest dose. The way I saw it, he stopped himself before you jumped him. That means he did nothing wrong. He's innocent. As for whatever he might have done in the past, we agreed to set all that aside for the duration when we finally accepted him as an ally. And besides, we're not sure what's happening out there. It's possible we'll regret not helping Doom. The last desperate ploy has failed, and now, as if on cue, the onslaught begins again. This time there is no defense. Long minutes pass, and then, finally, silence. Slowly, the victor approaches. Gathering up the savage remains, the Beyonder begins a probe, soon focusing upon the apparent center of its fallen foe's being. Stimulation of certain electrochemical reactions elicits a parade of images, dancing in the mind's eye of Doom. The Beyonder pays close heed and sees unfolded before him the life journey of this carrion he holds. He sees Doom as he remembers himself from years past, a gypsy youth, handsome and proud. Prominent is the haunting visage of Doom's mother, the healer, maker of potions, cruelly put to death when Doom was but an infant, slain at the command of a petty official for practicing her arts after failing to cure an ailing horse. He witnesses the young man's finding of his mother's hidden cache of sorcerous and scientific secrets, and the growth of his own knowledge of sciences both physical and supernormal. He observes Doom's discovery that his mother's spirit form is trapped in an infernal extra-dimensional netherworld, and sees the tragic attempt to contact her, which leaves his face a scarred ruin. Finally, he beholds what these events have wrought in the dark reaches of the heart and mind of doom as the images change, revealing the desires which rule this shattered man. Power, as though usurping control over the destinies of other men, would serve as vengeance against the cruelty heaped upon him by fate. Freedom for his mother's spirit, seized and held by the demonic Mephisto in his fiery dimension, as payment for arcane knowledge granted to her. Restoration of his ravaged face, the undoing of the horror he has ever kept hidden behind his grim iron mask. For long moments, the Beyonder reflects upon this thing. Desire. He ponders the passion, the bitterness, the hatred with which it seethes, the mystery of it. But there is much else to investigate, and perhaps he can learn more of this emptiness which drives by exploring other organs. The bilateral symmetry of his beaten foe, though damaged, is still evident. The Beyonder strips the body, and leaving one side intact for comparison, begins dissection. Thus, the mask is pulled away, and as the icy vacuum of the Beyonder's realm washes across half of Doom's bared face, he awakens feeling half his body being pulled apart, peeled away in layers. The agony, the nausea, and the horror are beyond imagining. Utter death, only split seconds away, offers an escape which any other mortal would gratefully accept. But he is Doom. The breastplate hovers near, and the Beyonder himself is close at hand. His remaining arm quivers weakly, its battered flesh low to respond. But he is Doom. As his vision blurs, and the ebony warmth closes around his consciousness, he fights on, reaching, groping. Another shockwave hit, and the whole Doom base starting to fall apart. Wolverine says, "Another shock." Human Torch says, "The biggest yet. The whole place is coming down." Cyclops says, "Nightcrawler, teleport over to Professor. Help him avoid the debris." Nightcrawler says, "At once, Cyclops." Captain America says, "Everybody outside. No matter how bad it is there, it's better than here. This place is going from shelter to tomb in a hurry." Mr. Fantastic says, "What about you, Cap?" Captain America says, "Go. I'll follow in a minute." Moments later, in the dungeon, Captain America tries to open the doors of prison cells to free the allies of Doom, but the doors are jammed, so Captain tries to break them open but still fails. Pile Driver says, "Guess out of here." Captain America says, "I'm trying, but the structure's shifted. The doors are jammed, but I'll find a way. Hang on." Wolverine says, "Need help?" Captain America says, "Yes. Hurry. I'll cover you." Wolverine slices the doors open, and Captain America shields him from falling debris. Captain America says, "Glad you're here." Wolverine says, "I wasn't to let these men die in cages, no matter what they done or whose side they're on. Magneto was on his way down here, too. He's got a thing about folks being trapped and left to die like rats, even humans. But I told him I'd take this detail while he got the other couple bad guys out of sick bay. I didn't expect to find you here." Captain America says, "Even these men have rights. All right, move it. Get out of here. There's no guarantee that any of us will survive the next few minutes, but we all stand a better chance outside. Go." Absorbing Man says, "We hear ya, pal." And as they freed the prisoners, the dungeon falls underground. Captain America and Wolverine escape before it could crush them. Wolverine says, "Just in time. That whole section of the fort is collapsing." Captain America says, "Keep moving. It's a long way to open air." Wolverine says, "Don't take this wrong, but you're a better man than I gave you credit for. I'm an attacker and you're a defender, but we're both soldiers. I'm beginning to think you got room in your highfalutin ideals for all people, don't ya? Even if they're mutants." Captain America says, "Some of my best friends are people outside the Doom base." Human Torch says, "Here they come. They're okay." Hulk says, "Yeah, but this planet isn't. I figure it's just about to shake itself into space gravel. And then where will we be?" The Thing says, "Pardo, that great driveway in the sky, I suppose." Human Torch says, "Hey, it stopped." Spider-Man says, "Suddenly, it's all quiet again. What gives?" Hawkeye says, "Look, up there." Rogue says, "That light, what is it?" In the sky, a giant orb of light appears, and it's getting closer and closer. Hawkeye says, "It's coming closer." Captain America says, "Be ready for anything." Hawkeye says, "Cap, you're something else, man. Don't your jaw ever go slack? Aren't you ever just too flabbergasted to shout orders?" Captain America says, "Quiet, Hawkeye. Stand ready. It's almost on top of us." Hulk says, "Something's forming inside of it." The giant orb of light formed into Dr. Doom, but he isn't his normal human size. He was an enormous size. Dr. Doom says, "The Beyonder is dead. Now the supreme being in the universe is Doom." Spider-Man says, "CA Cap." "My gosh, Cap. Now what?" Captain America says, "This is going to be the fight of our lives. On my command, attack. And don't stop, don't let up, no matter what. We must find a way. We will find a way to win. Ready." Dr. Doom says, "Hold. Stay your hand. Captain America." Absorbing the Beyonder's vast energies cause my form to swell to enormous proportions. But I am what I wish to be now. Dr. Doom transforms back into his normal human size. Dr. Doom says, "Let me, then, return to human proportions so that we may more easily speak, face to face. First, know ye these things? The Beyonder no longer exists, and Doom has been reborn. Thus have two evils come to an end. There is no enemy left to fight." Dr. Doom takes the iron mask off his face, and Dr. Doom says, "The war is over.